Yo, what up people, so in today's video we're going to be reviewing The Division 2. Buy it. I'm kidding. Well, not really, that is my final recommendation, but here's why you should buy The Division 2. The Division 2 is without a doubt one of the best games to launch in 2019. Like most people, I was a fan of the first Division, but it did have its downfalls for me, the most annoying ones being the enemies were bullet sponges, and I felt like I had to be constantly stuck to cover if I wanted to survive. I'm happy to say that the Division 2 addresses these problems and is a massive improvement over the first game in almost every way. The story is nothing special, but it gets you from point A to point B. It takes place in post-apocalyptic Washington, DC. Your job as a Division agent is to rescue DC from the various factions wreaking havoc on the civilians and what's left of the government. There are only a few main story missions which unlock at various levels, which basically forces you to complete side missions and quests for various characters in the game to level up until you're at the level for the next main mission. The main story missions deals with what's currently happening in DC and how you're trying to restore it to what it was, but if you want to find out what happened before, you'll have to go exploring and find phones containing recordings of conversations which slowly fill you in on the events of the past leading up to how DC got to this point. So, let's talk about content. Long story short, there's a lot. How much? I'm talking 30 hours playtime just to beat the main campaign. So we got the story missions, side quests, bunch of activities, projects to complete, strongholds to beat, control points to fight over, none of this which feels repetitive, might I add, and again that's just the main campaign. The endgame begins after you beat the final mission and you advance through 5 extra world tiers, one more challenging than the last, with the introduction of a new enemy faction called the Black Tusk. So the endgame basically is going to have you rerun the old strongholds and story missions with new objectives, adding to the already high amount of replayability this game has. The loot system is amazing. I was constantly getting gear higher than what I already had through my entire campaign playthrough, and if I had to say anything bad about the loot, it's just that I didn't have enough space to carry it all because they were throwing so much of it at me. So playing the game was a stress-free experience loot-wise. The real grind only begins at World Tier 5 when you want specific gear to make a certain build, so my grinding begins at around 60 hours. Reaching the endgame also unlocks a third specialized weapon. You can pick either the grenade launcher, an explosive crossbow, or a 50 cal sniper. Each of these 3 classes also comes with a skill tree with a ton of additional gameplay perks, so you can choose which one best suits your playstyle. Moving on to gameplay and features, bullet sponge enemies are gone, and even though some enemies do take a long time to kill, I like the fact that they added in that armor breaks off or the enemies hold over and stop shooting. It has a nice visual feedback letting me know that I'm doing a ton of damage rather than me constantly dumping bullets into them and they only stop shooting back at me when they're dead like in the first Division. The gadgets and skills have also been improved upon. I like the ones in the first game, but the ones in this game just ups the ante, with each skill having multiple variants useful for different situations and also to suit your playstyle, and my favorite being the Riot Shield Assault variant, which allows you to use a primary weapon, so I didn't feel like I had to be stuck to cover to survive. I can play as aggressive as I like and get to cover to reload or to heal and jump right back in the action. There's also perks which can be upgraded from collecting shade tech throughout the world, so this is kind of the first game that I'll actually try to collect something on the map. A quick mention to the fast travel and matchmaking system. When you squad up with friends or randoms, it becomes a shared world, so I beat this entire game co-op with a friend of mine. The fast travel was also a lifesaver in many situations. Remember all that loot I said I couldn't carry? I'll leave my squad in the middle of a mission, fast travel to the base, sell my loot, and fast travel back to the mission and continue fighting and getting more loot, all with minimal load times. Customization is also good. Plenty of clothes, emotes, weapon skins, and there are a good amount of weapons for you to choose from, and the gunplay also feels a lot better. The last positive here is the map and the environment. DC is a much better place in my opinion. I got tired of the snow in New York really quickly. The map looks good visually as well, certain areas filled with trash as people were forced to live outdoors, others completely covered in foliage and wild animals, so you can tell where nature kind of took over. There's also a weather system which not only looks good, but it adds difficulty because a lot of the time it obscures your visibility, making it harder to see in gunfights. thing I like the most though is that the city feels alive. Wild animals running around, friendly AI will cheer you on as you walk past, and you're praised as a hero, and they'll even join you in gunfights. Hell, they'll get in gunfights on their own, and you can choose to hop in and help if you feel like, but it doesn't stop there. The enemy factions aren't just at war with the division, they're also at war with each other. So anytime you leave a safe area, a gunfight is never too far away because the block is always hot. Shit is always popping off, and I love it because in the first division it was so boring running from mission to mission and nothing is happening. In this game is the total opposite. You're running from mission to mission and trying to avoid people because there's so much action going on. But the game isn't just all positive. So in terms of cons, I played on a console and the rendering was fucking awful and filled with lots of audio bugs after the last update that they did. I'd shoot a weapon and I'd only hear the audio 2 or 3 seconds after, or all my audio would just go for a couple seconds and then come back in. So there's that. Secondly, Ubisoft AI is back at it again. I gave up on doing hostage rescue missions because as soon as you shoot the first 2 enemies, the hostages would literally stand in front of elite enemies with a minigun trying to shoot back with a pistol. Obviously they died and I failed the side quest, so that happened so much it started getting annoying and I stopped trying to save them. So the friendly AI is kind of stupid, but the enemy AI is pretty good. And last but not least, I'm just gonna go off script for this one. Yo, who the fuck thought that this was a good idea? Like, who responsible for making this objective marker? Like, dog, I can keep it 100, right? I'm blind as fuck. I'm blind as a motherfucker. Talking trash tier level eyesight. But this shit, this little diamond caused me so much pain through my entire playthrough. I'm talking no less than 3 times a mission. After completing objective, I just have to stand up there and slowly spin in a circle looking for where this little diamond is. It is so hard to find, and I thought it was just me because, like I said, trash tier eyesight, you know what I mean? Remember I said I completed this game co-op with a friend. I asked him, I was just like, is it just me or is this little diamond hard for you to find too? He's like, nah, this shit is hard to see. And that nigga got 20/20 vision, so Ubisoft, please fix this shit. Make it bigger, change the color, make it pulse, put it on the fucking minimap, something. Make it easier to see where the objective is and where I have to go. Right, back to script. So I feel like that was a pretty long review, so here's a quick recap in case you weren't listening. So in terms of pros, there's a lot of content, over 60 hours worth, and I forgot to mention, but DLC is coming. All of it will be free, and there are 8-player raids that are supposed to be released later in May. The gameplay is fun, there's a ton of replayability, the map is much better, there's also a weather system, the city feels alive, and there is a lot of customization. And in terms of the cons, the friendly AI is stupid, the rendering and audio bugs is pretty bad on console, I'm not sure if PC has these problems, and the objective diamond is hard to see. So all in all, I've never listed the game as a must buy, but if you're into looter shooters or you were a fan of the first division, this is a must buy. If you're still on the fence, you're looking at gameplays and reviews wondering if to buy it, I will say the Division 2 is boring as hell to watch, but it is pretty fun to play. I was in that position too. So, like I said at the beginning of this video, when it comes to the Division 2, buy it.